like me with unrestricted internet access at the age of 10, you know what fanfiction is. But for those of you who don't, fanfiction is defined by Merriam-Webster as stories involving popular fictional characters that are written by fans and often posted on the internet. Fanfiction can be made from TV shows, movies, books, video games, board games, history, and more. Fanfiction was made as early as the 19th century, with works like A New Alice in the Old Wonderland being based off of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. But the moment of fanfiction being popularized as amateur work within fandoms was in 1967, with the first Star Trek fan-made zine, Spockanalia. Edited by Deborah Michelle Langsam and Sherna Comerford, Spockanalia was originally going to be a one-shot, a single issue. Yet, within 3 years, Spockanalia would develop 5 issues. The popularity of Spockanalia paved a way for the growth of fanzine culture and was an outlet for enthusiasm and creativity from Star Trek fans. But with the rise of the internet, fanfiction was made more universally accessible with the creation of sites like fanfiction.net, Tumblr, Wattpad, Archive of Our Own, and others. Due to the World Wide Web, fanfiction now has a global audience. Fans can now become authors from the comfort of their bedrooms and deliver to a much larger audience than what was possible through traditional means, such as fanzines. Some go on to become best-selling novels and even blockbuster films. Some notable examples are 50 Shades of Grey, which was originally a Twilight fanfiction, The Love Hypothesis, originally a Star Wars fanfiction, and After originally was a fanfic of Harry Styles from One Direction. But for this video, I'll be focusing on a certain subgenre, queer fanfiction. With the debuts of popular shows, movies, and games such as Harry Potter, Sherlock, Supernatural, Pitch Perfect, Call of Duty, and many more, there have been fans dedicating their writing to their gay ships from their favorite mediums. And for those of you who don't know, ships are when fans desire for 2 or more people to begin a relationship, usually romantic. Debatably, queer fanfiction makes its first inferred appearance in the debut issue of Spockanalia. In Ruth Berman's short poem, Kirk and Spock, she writes that despite their differences, and even when they disagree, they seek out each other's company. And that's pretty gay. Fans turn to queer fanfiction to fill the rainbow-sized hole in media, since there wasn't a lot to work with in terms of queer characters before now. According to research done by the nonprofit LGBTQ advocacy organization GLAAD in 2022, LGBTQ+ representation is at a high in US television with 11.9%. Before, there was The Fosters, Pretty Little Liars, Shameless, and some others, but it just wasn't enough. But even now, representation of queer characters in media often follows with unmatched sorrows that the heterosexual characters don't face, or the bury your gays trope. The bury your gays trope determines that for the price of being gay on screen, one or both of the lovers in a same-sex couple will end up dead. In an article by Autostraddle, they named how all 230 lesbian and bisexual characters on TV had died. But there are countless comments adding characters that they missed. And even then, these are just the female characters. To name an example of brutality given to queer characters, in the 6th film for the Scream franchise, released in 2023, the lesbian character introduced at the beginning of the film, Annika, suffers from one of the most brutal and dragged-out death scenes in the entire series, in my opinion. To combat against the hellish trope, fans use fanfiction as a way to explore alternative storylines for characters, ones without anguish, death, or rejection, allowing their favorite characters to finally live happily ever after. With works ranging from headcanons to multi-chapter stories, fans finally have the power to meet their own quota of representation with their favorite media. And once fans logged onto their favorite sites to indulge in fan-delivered pieces, they were free from suffering through the bury your gays trope, unless, of course, they were reading angst. With delivering their own representation, fans also have the opportunity to disestablish the heteronormativity within their favorite media. By reimagining established characters and storylines, fanfiction writers contribute to a more inclusive cultural landscape and challenge societal norms regarding relationships and gender roles. There was no queerbaiting or nudges and winks. Within the realms of these fanfictions, characters could be out and proud. The fanfiction community is already a safe space, but those who intake queer fanfiction create their own space and provide a sense of community and belonging for LGBTQ+ folk. It's a safe space for queer fans to share their experiences, discuss queer themes, and express their own identities through the creation and consumption of queer fanfiction. This exploration can contribute to personal growth, self-discovery, and a sense of validation. An example of this is from the Vice article, How Fanfiction Helped Me Come to Terms with My Queer Identity. The author, Satviki, shares how exposure to queer stories made them realize they were associating themselves with the characters they read about as they gradually came to terms with their sexuality. As I explored online into queer stories, they say that relationships in fan fictions kept showing me the light and letting me know that the things that went through my mind also went through the minds of my favorite characters in some other dimension, and that it was okay. Queer fanfiction also acts as a form of activism. Authors can use their stories to address LGBTQ+ rights, discrimination, and societal prejudices, which can lead to broader discussions. The inclusivity of queer fanfiction fosters acceptance and understanding of the broad spectrum of identities and sexualities. When reading queer fanfiction, readers encounter a wide range of experiences and perspectives, and an opportunity to see more than stereotypes provided in media. I mean, we all know the gay best friend. He's brutally honest, helps the main character with their fashion, provides unmatched advice, and will snap his fingers in a sassy Z while being too gay to function. Subsequently, a caricature that is performing for a straight woman's dream. But with fanfiction, they understand that it's more than a gay person. It's a person that is gay. Through fanfiction, folks can see characters with their own personalities that just so happen to be queer. It doesn't need to be paraded. There's no celebration or apology. They're just queer. And although it seems perfect on paper, there are a few issues that come along with the fanfiction space. Fanfiction involves the use of characters, settings, and other pieces from existing works, and this can potentially infringe on the copyright of the original media. Copyright law grants creators exclusive rights to their works, the rights to reproduce, distribute, and create derivative works. Some proponents of fanfiction argue that it falls under the doctrine of fair use, which is a legal principle that allows the use of copyrighted material for purposes such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, or research. Transformative works are often raised in discussions with the legality of fanfiction. If it's transformative, it adds significant new expression, meaning, or messages to the original work, and it may be more likely to be seen as fair use. However, whether fanfiction qualifies as fair use is subjective and depends on factors such as the purpose of the use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount used, and most importantly, whether or not the amateur author is profiting off of the original work. That is why when some works go on to be professionally published and filmed, the characters' names are changed. It's no longer Edward, it's Christian Grey. Same with Harry Styles to Hardin Scott and Kylo Ren to Adam. Not to be confused with Adam Driver. With external conflicts aside, there's also the internal conflicts within the community. Much like the fall of Julius Caesar or the Beatles as a group, conflicting opinions can create major conflict within a group setting. One major issue is the shipping of same-sex couples done by heterosexuals. Instead of queer representation made by queer folk, it tends to cross a line into the fetishization of queer relationships. To name an example, there are women that sexualize male-loving male relationships. They tend to feed into harmful stereotypes, with one person being more feminine while the other is more masculine, implying the man and the woman of the relationship. This can also bleed into impacts on personal identity, but in the negative stance. This tends to come through when the shipping is no longer between two fictional characters, but rather real people. Instead of helping people come to terms with their sexualities, it can make people uncomfortable, even if they were already comfortable in their own sexuality. Take, for example, the shipping between two YouTubers, Markiplier and Jacksepticeye. The Septiplier ship was widely popular from around 2015 to 2018. Mark and Sean have spoken on the ship when it originally started, and it was obvious that it was just a cute little fandom thing. But it quickly got out of hand, and the fanfiction and fan art grew inappropriate to the point where Sean himself stated that he enjoyed the fan art of him and Mark as friends, but some people took it way too far. The ship seemed to have impacted their friendship in some way, since their collaborations on videos lulled to a stop. But with negatives aside, there's also the need to acknowledge queer fanfiction's impact. After years of straight fanfiction making billboards, queer fanfiction is finally beginning to receive its flowers in academia. When I first went into the Pride Center at my university, I was greeted with a flyer promoting a class dedicated to queer fanfiction. Queer Studies 305, Queer Identity, Analyzing and Writing Fanfiction. I mean, the whole reason I'm making this video is for my own college course, Queer Studies 115. But the greatest impact fanfiction can have is by impacting its canon. There are minor acknowledgements, such as the actors of shipped characters also shipping the characters. John Boyega and Oscar Isaac, who play Finn and Poe respectively in the Star Wars reboots, have both expressed they wish their characters were in a canon relationship and addressed on screen. There are small victories of it being confirmed. For example, Elliot Knight, an openly queer actor who plays Gaz in the video game reboots of Call of Duty, has stated multiple times that his character identifies the same as him. But there are major victories, such as ships finally sailing. The greatest example of this is with the ship Destiel. Destiel, a ship between Castiel and Dean Winchester from Supernatural, has been one of the most widely popular ships ever since Castiel's first appearance in Season 4, Episode 1, way back in 2008. But it wasn't until November 19th, 2020, with Season 15, Episode 20, the entire series finale, that Castiel was confirmed in canon.
I love you.
Resulting in the entire internet's explosion. To conclude, ever since the rise of the internet and fanfiction becoming a well-known outlet, queer fanfiction has been an important outlet to queer folk. Yes, it has its flaws, but everything does. And a way to truly recognize queer fanfiction is to give it the same platforms and opportunities for exploration into mainstream media as their straight counterparts. Thank you!